We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and have roll call vote, please.
Walker.
Here.
Dyke.
Here.
Freund. Here. Mack.
Here.
Maycumber. Here. Connect. Here.
We'll have the reading of the district mission statement by Director Mack.
Our mission is to engage, inspire, and empower students and staff in order to maximize learning.
Thank you. And agenda item 3 is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections?
No changes.
No changes.
Move to approve the agenda as published.
I'll second it.
Motion is second to approve the agenda as published. May we have roll call vote, please?
Dyke.
Yes.
Freund. Yes. Mack.
Yes.
Maycumber. Yes. Walker.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 4 is to welcome the visitors and receive public comment. Is there anyone wishing to make public comment tonight? Seeing none, we'll go on to agenda item 5, comments by board members and superintendent. Dr. Cox.
Thanks. Last week at a special meeting, the board voted to hold their December meeting tonight as originally scheduled and set a special meeting for Tuesday the 19th at 5 p.m. to hear a presentation from BLDD Architects regarding the high school modernization plan and also to discuss the North Grand building. On December 19th from 4:30 to 5 o'clock, we will have State Senator Waylon Brown and State Representative Todd Pritchard here interacting with the board, talking about educational issues. There will be no action taken, and it is open to the public. Also want to remind the board that it's concert season again. We have the high school band and orchestra students performing tonight, 5th and 6th grade choir performing on Thursday, 7th through 12 choir next Monday night. All 3 of those concerts are at the North Grand Auditorium. On December 19th, the 3rd and 4th grade students will perform a concert at Comet Gymnasium here at 1200 First Avenue. Check the website for concert times and locations.
Thank you. Anyone else have comment tonight?
I would just have one comment. I had an opportunity to go to the hockey game, excuse me, with my boys on Saturday, and we thought it was really exciting to watch the teachers all scramble and stuff money in all kinds of different places. I won't go into details about that, but it was a really unique experience and really fun. So I would encourage us to do that again. It was lots of interesting stuff.
Yeah, I was able to go to that as well with my daughter and my dad, and it was a lot of fun. We actually ended up sitting right behind Josh and his boys, so.
Yeah, it was good.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was. But there was a lot of Charles City support there, so that was nice to see. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Anything else? Move on to agenda item 6, committee reports. I don't have any reports down unless anyone has any different. Agenda item 7, job shadowing report. So I'll start. I had 2 for 2 this year on music shadowing, which is kind of a treat. I had kind of a heads up going into this. Both of my boys have spoken very highly of Miss Finder and really enjoy her class. So, and then knowing that we had this concert coming up, I was kind of excited to see a little bit of a preview of that. And I tell you, there's I have a lot of respect for teachers like that take something on like that. And I told her she's one really brave individual to try and pull together these hundreds of 3rd and 4th graders and get it all coordinated and going. And maybe that's why we haven't had one for 40 years. But so I'm looking really forward to that and excited about it. And I know Bryce is too. So really, really good things going on there. It was really, really fun to see. So we'll go on to Scott.
And I was delinquent again. I just cannot find time, so I see we're not doing it until the 8th. And I'll probably skip for tax season because I really won't find time then.
Sure. Okay. No problem. Missy.
Yeah, I went and visited Mrs. Nelson's kindergarten class, and it was a lot of fun to be around kindergartners again. And they were just so excited to have somebody come and visit. And I was there during their reading time. They had just finished their writing workshop, and they've started a new reading and writing program, and I can't remember what it's called. She told me, and I didn't write it down. But just really, really neat to see how engaged the kids were and how excited they were about that. And they did a group session, and then everybody split off individually. And the little boy, it was his birthday that day, he came running up and gave me a hug and asked me if he could read the birthday book to me. They have a special birthday book. So that was fun. So yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, she does a great job. So
Awesome. Josh.
So Mr. Wilson and I have a meeting next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, to spent some time in his first grade class. I'm looking forward to it. We're both big Packer fans, so hopefully we'll have something exciting to talk about.
Excellent. Robin?
And I was in Mrs. Schwinfer's kindergarten class. It's interesting because I've been on the board now for 4 years, and I've spent all this time in the middle school, the high school, and the elementary schools, but never went into the kindergarten. And I was awestruck. For one, because I haven't been into a kindergarten class since my 26-year-old son was in kindergarten. And I don't remember him being able to read and write the way these kindergarten students do. It was amazing. Kindergarten teachers have to be the most talented people in the world, I swear. It is such a juggle. There's so many things they have to do, from paying parent to discipline to teaching, and to get that balance between it all was just fascinating. And those young minds sucking it all up, the imaginations were great. And as a side note, I also want to give a shout out to Mr. Frenchick's 6th grade art class. I had the opportunity, they asked me on a last minute notice to come on in. They were going to try to work on painting a mural. I wanted to talk to somebody who had painted murals before, and I got a chance to step in there and saw what they were able to do in 48-minute periods, which is that too is quite a juggle when you're walking into a learning studio that is used right before and then right after. And our conversation was, we'll get there with this whole process of understanding how to balance that out so that we're sharing spaces and class periods and coming together as opposed to separate classes. Because the project they did, there was one boy that was painting the globe, and he was discovering where Africa was in relation to North America, and so there was a geometry lesson that was happening there during this art lesson, and they were painting different countries' flags. And
Cool.
so project-based learning, but maybe a little more collaborative learning with that, but their project came out really well. So thank you for that opportunity too.
Awesome. Fallon, do you have any chance to?
I did not. I
Good.
did not have time to fit it in my schedule.
Sure. Awesome. We will move on to agenda item 8, which is the Success Center presentation.
Thank you, Board. Larry Wolf up at the high school. They thought it'd be more formal if I introduced them as the Success Center team. I'm not going to give you a whole lot, except we got 4 very talented people that are spending a lot of their day supporting kids on many levels, both emotionally, socially, and academically. So I'll let them introduce themselves, and they can talk a little bit about what each one of them done and how we married this system and how it's different today than it was. We always say we're better today than we were 6 weeks ago, we're better today than we were last year at this time, and we're better tomorrow because of what we learned today. So I'll let you guys have that.
All right, thanks, Mr. Wolf. Thanks, Board, for having us in. I have with me Carlene Sickman. She works primarily with the middle school staff and students. Josh Dean, he's working mostly with the high school students and staff. Also, he goes down to Cary Lane on Tuesday mornings and teaches a class down there. And then Julie Molstead, who's now the in-school suspension supervisor. And then I'm Dan Caffrey, I'm the juvenile court liaison. So we put together some data for you guys. We wanted to kind of let you guys get to know what we do. As we talk with staff and other community members, like, what exactly do you do? And I said, well, what exactly don't we do? So a couple years ago when the 2 campuses were looking at coming together, we sat down as a team and talked about what we envisioned, what we thought would be the best for students to be successful. And we were fortunate enough to go visit Fort Dodge, who we had looked around different schools in the state to see who had large number of at-risk students, and Fort Dodge popped up on the list. We went and visited their program. We also went and visited Marion, and we actually modeled what we do a lot after what Marion does. Their program down there is really successful, and the flow is just phenomenal. So up on the board is our monthly attendance with the Success Center. It's broken down by month with student visits. So just for example, last year when we were just getting rolling, staff didn't really know how to utilize this very well. We didn't really exactly know what we were getting ourselves into. We had 759 student visits. And what a student visit is a class period. When the class period is over, we log in through Google Form. Each one of us, we register what kids were in there, what they worked on, what teacher sent them, and this, how Google Forms work. It goes into a spreadsheet. Every month, Julie puts a report together for us, and we send that out to staff as well, so that staff has that communication with us. For example, September last year we were at 759 student visits. This year in September we're at 1,174. So, after a year of the Success Center being in operation, staff knew what to expect, how to use us, and that number went up a lot. Okay, so we're right at or above where we were last year for student visits per period. Earlier this semester, we had tried to warp our system. We tried to revamp and make it better. We did a lot of self look and realized that we weren't being successful. The kids weren't being successful. We were stressed out. So we went and visited Hampton Dumont on the last PD day. They've been having a Success Center for over 10 years. We talked with them a lot and threw out our frustrations, and they're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what we went through. And they kind of gave us some suggestions about how we could go back to being successful, and that's what we did. We kind of realigned who did what, and it's made a huge change. This is the second report that we send out to staff every month. It talks about how many students were through the Success Center. In the little orange box, it talks about what teachers send kids more frequently than others. And it's broken down with in-school suspensions, study table, ZAP before school, and Smart Lunch. Month of November, it's 1498 student visits, and then we break it down in middle school and high school with 600 visits from the middle school and 898 from the high school.
Yeah, apologize that number, yeah, it's 898 for the high school.
This is,
I was
go ahead.
gonna just add, one thing that we also have done recently is our roles, we realize, expand so much more than we first realized. So we also are now doing data, and I'll do something with this later, on when we see somebody academically, emotionally, and behaviorally. And that has really kind of divided up in big ways. And we've just done it recently, so didn't have a lot to put together for you, but how we are really seeing these students. That they come to us just because they need somebody they trust, they can talk to. Nothing against our counselors, but we have just developed this connection and this bond with these kids, and they come to us and talk with us. We are good about going to the counselor saying, hey, this is what was brought to us, follow up on this. But it's a good stepping stone for these kids to release some of the stuff that's going on in their lives.
As we started out the year, we talked about 3 goals for the year. What can we improve on? What can we make better? Number 1 is communication. The next one is achievement. And the last one is assessment. So as we thought about communication with the staff, obviously our job is to bridge the gap between the staff and the students. A lot of the students that we work with don't see eye to eye with the staff members that they have as teachers, or they're just not comfortable going and talking with those teachers. That's a lot of what we do is we go have those face-to-face conversations with those teachers to make that relationship a lot better. Up there, this is an example of what we give each staff member. It's got our names on it, it's got our extensions. We have a group email that if they have an issue with a student, they can shoot us an email. Hey, we're struggling with Johnny, what's worked with you guys? And it goes through the referral process of how to send kids down, reasons to refer them to us, and reasons not to refer to us. Number 1, not to send them to us is not to let them escape your room, like just as a get out of there. They need to come down. When they come down, they work, they get their progress done in their classrooms. Go ahead. This is an example of a lot of our responsibilities between the 4 of us. Obviously, academic support's number 1. All 4 of us, it's number 1 on our priority list. Juvenile court liaison, I've really bridged the gap between some of our juvenile court officers and the school this year. Repaired some damaged relationships and made things a lot better with our students that are at risk that have juvenile court issues. In-school suspension, Those numbers are really high this year, and so Julie's been working her tail off. Character education in school, suspensions, detentions, behavioral support, credit recovery, and online learning go hand in hand. Non-traditional parent-teacher meetings and home visits is something that we've really tried to put an emphasis on. Making communication with the parents has made a huge difference in how successful our students are that we work with every day. I've been in the parking lot of Clarkview Apartments talking with a student and their parent because the mom didn't have transportation up here, so we went and talked to them out there.
Hey, one quick thing on that. I got to tell you guys a really fast story. I know we're pressed for time, but I went to the Dollar General tonight before I came here and ran into a student of ours who dropped out. She had one credit left to get. She's working full-time down there. She's coming to school tomorrow to talk to us about coming back and finishing her last credit so she can have a high school diploma.
That's awesome.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just too excited.
And some other things that we've kind of initialized the last couple of years. Flapjack Fridays. We make pancakes for staff to try to. We talked about bridging those relationships, making those relationships better with the students. We have a group of kids that come in early, 7:15 on a Friday. They'll make flapjacks for the staff. In middle school, we've done it up on the balcony out there. High school, we've done it down in room 608. It's really awesome. We also do it for our Success Center kids. So this Friday, we're doing another one. You guys are more than welcome to come. We'll do it in Mr. Dean's room. We'll start about 7:30 to 8:15. You guys are more than welcome to come and join in on that. The kids do an awesome job, and they love it. The Project Rise mentoring programs initiative that I've kind of started the last couple of years. I've got 40 kids in it right now that are matched up. They're high school kids that mentor and tutor middle school kids on their time. So they come in during Smart Lunch, they come in during study halls and do it. That's a student-led group. There's 3 kids that I have on the leadership team. They organize things. They have meetings every month. They talk about how to make things better. And that group's actually going to present at the Northeast Iowa Alternative Teachers meeting in February, and they're also going to the Iowa State Alternative Ed Conference in April to present at that. So that's pretty exciting.
To teachers from throughout the state, that's 100 teachers will be there watching our kids. It's going to take off. I mean, I mentioned it at the board meeting. I'm part of the Iowa Association of Alternative Educators board. I mentioned it to them, and I already am getting emails asking for information about our mentoring program. Pretty awesome.
And can you speak another little bit more of those 40 kids that are involved in that? How many of them are involved in other activities in school? I think that's important that we share. So it's another opportunity to be involved in some students.
Yeah, there's some mentors in there that are in other sports, softball, choir, whatever, but I would say probably about 80% of them are not involved with other things. So that gives them something that they can do, gives them a little, I don't know. Yeah, that's exactly right. Skin in the game. We've also been working a lot on individual student class plans and transitioning back in the classroom if they've been long-term suspended, expelled, whether if they can't handle themselves in the traditional classrooms. We've been working a lot on that this year. Study table and ZAP, and obviously we're working with staff to find the best way for students to succeed.
And to be honest with you, that is what we had to narrow it down to. I mean, just to fit in, it's just, there's so much more that we do that we don't even realize until we start putting this together, how much we work with these kids.
Yep, so then we sat down, we just kind of jotted down a bunch of different things that we do day-to-day basis. When we think about it, like it's just what we do, but when you sit down and try to write it out, it's crazy. You sit there and just, oh, I did this today, and I did this today, and I did this today. So there's just a few things I do. Going along with on the right side, along with the Project Rise, we're looking at expanding that to the next level, which is what do we do with these high school kids that are mentoring and tutoring? So I'm partnering with Bob Cloberdance downtown, and we're gonna expand that to having a bunch of business owners, normal, everyday people that we know in the community that are gonna come in, mentor these kids a little bit, teach them how to write resumes, show them how to help them write scholarship applications, teach them how to, we'll have lunch meeting, teach them how to have a lunch meeting. Just stuff that they're not exposed to normally. Kind of what the high school did last spring with, going shopping and getting speeding tickets and buying insurance and all this stuff. But it's just, they're just going to sit down and talk with these people. And I like the guys with ties because it, brings back, if these kids graduate, I have ties to the community if I need a job down the road, or if I need a job reference, something like that. So there's lots of things that we're building on to make these at-risk kids successful. And then, Julie, obviously, she's super busy every day with different things. Carlene, yeah, I mean, I asked them, I said, are you guys done writing stuff on here? And they're like, we don't know where to stop. So I had to cut them off at some point.
One big piece that I do cover is the bridge between here and Kerry Lane. He talked a little about that. That's an important dear piece for me. We found that it was kind of a few years ago, like Kerry Lane numbers kind of went, and I think part of that was we didn't have someone in place to not only get the kids there, get the right kids there, and also like touch base with them. So I'm super privileged to be able to go down there once a week during a 3-hour block and teach a class, and then also cover their emotional needs and online classes, and I have a plan and all that stuff that goes along with it. Makes these guys work harder on Tuesday mornings, but I think that's a huge piece. Our numbers there are strong, and the kids are really good down at Kerry Lane now. If you ever poke your head in there, they're working like crazy. So I don't know, I guess that's...
I guess the biggest thing that that we talk about is just making sure that those kids feel comfortable being there. A lot of these kids are not coming from backgrounds that we're used to. I can't relate to anything that a lot of these kids are going through, but a lot of times it's just somebody being there, somebody believing in them, somebody to trust. So that's our biggest job, is to do something like that.
It's wearing a lot of hats. Like I think today, for example, I helped 7 or 8 kids work on writing a research paper, listen to 3 or 4 different kids tell me about the horrible, horrible things you couldn't even imagine that happened at their house over the weekend. Then I went and sang Christmas carols with the Cub Scouts after school. So, we do a lot of, really what it boils down to is we're doing what's best for the kids. We got stats, we got numbers, we got all this stuff, but really, like all 4 of our goal is just what can we do to promote our at-risk kids and to do what's best for them.
And sometimes it's a recent thing that happened to me is sometimes we feel like we beat our head against the wall. We don't know if we're really getting anywhere with these kids. And my husband and my son works at the dealership as well. He sold a student, an old student of mine recently, a car. And both of them came home and told me, they said, hey, do you remember this student? I said, yeah, absolutely. They're like, and I hadn't had this student since middle school. And him and his father said and told my son and my husband that if it wasn't for me, he would have never graduated high school. And I had not seen this kid since middle school. And it just reaffirms what we're doing. Sometimes when I feel like I don't know where these kids are going, where they're headed, and they're sitting there telling my son and my husband, like, your mom is awesome, she's, it wasn't for her. And the dad is reaffirming all this, and it just, and then I get emails, like, out of the blue from somebody who graduated 2 or 3 years ago. Because of you, I just got accepted into this job. I was able to take this class. And it's just amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, and it's all, Fallon's one of my star Project Rise mentors. And seeing her on the board is fantastic. So yeah, once again, you guys are more than welcome to come to Flapjack Friday on Friday. And our doors are always open if you guys want to come in any time during the day, during the week, to see what goes on down there in the Success Center. Thanks for your time.
Questions, comments?
I'd make a comment. It seems like you're all very passionate about what you do, and that's really exciting because it seems like it makes it not even work for you because you're working when you're shopping and when you're selling cars and you're not even part of it. So I think it's a very positive thing, and you're helping the people who need your assistance the most. So really, really awesome.
Thank you.
These are the instances that when people stop me in the public and say, why hasn't our school got it together? that I want them to say, stop. We do. It's people like you who prove that we are such a caring organization, and we do have it together, and we are making a difference by leaps and bounds in these kids' lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know, I mean, like, you know, Dan, obviously we're out socially, and I just, it doesn't matter the situation, we're always talking about this stuff. And with you guys, the passion and everything, it's just awesome to see that stuff, because like I said, these are the kids that need the most help, and they're the ones that, the star students are almost always gonna, you know, have success. These ones are not, and if it wasn't for you guys, and the time you put in and everything, we wouldn't have that. So, thank you, you know,
I think
so much
one
for
of the
coming.
biggest eye-openers for us, to me anyway, is when we just see these other schools and they're like, oh, we have, you know, we have so much, you know, poverty and all this, and they're like, yeah, we're 28% free.
Yeah.
We're just for like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, and they're talking about how much of need this program is for them. And we tell them our numbers and they're like, you know, I mean, just in our community, this is a necessity.
Yep.
I mean, a complete necessity for our kids.
yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming in too, because, you know, it's not just that you're presenting to us, but, you know, the camera will be on the, you know, local cable access channel, so hopefully more of the community can see the services that we're providing in the school that they don't probably have any idea about, so.
Your busy days and the number of students that you touch is truly amazing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Move on to agenda item number 9. Let's kind of start here. So running into a little bit with agenda item 10, I attended most of the things I attended at the State School Board Convention were, you know, meeting and board president related, and I stayed for Friday. I went to the board president workshop that IASB puts on. And on the Friday session, there was probably, I don't know, 40 or 50 board presidents and a number of superintendents there as well, and had a lot of good conversations and networking with how things worked at their meetings, and a couple of things that kind of I had in my head for a while that I wanted to bring to the table for discussion, and kind of see where we're at and what we think on some things. And one of them was the public comment section. So obviously we've really calmed down on the amount of people that come and make comments and things. But when I was kind of talking to some folks down there, and I said, yeah, we take public comment on each agenda item, every one of them looked at me just with this appalled look on their face, like, I can't believe that, you know, you do that. And I said, well, we do, and we've had some really, really long meetings because of it, but it's been, you know, in my opinion, a very successful thing too, where we built a lot of goodwill with giving a lot of opportunity for the community to speak about some really, really controversial things in the past. So where I see it has played a very positive role in how we've gotten through some issues, they also raised some concerns that I think are very valid as well with, and we've seen it too, with times in our meetings where, you know, several years ago, there would be exchanges that were made between the public and the board members, you know, and they really raised the concern of that making an opportunity or presenting the opportunity for a meeting to get out of hand very quickly, or for there the potential to be stuff that's talked about that may not be appropriate or may not be legal based on what's on the agenda. So those were a couple of concerns I had. So my thought is that we would move everything to the beginning of the meeting under the agenda item number 4, public comments. Everyone at that time would be invited to provide comment, and if it was on a specific agenda item, they could ask their questions, they could comment on things, they could say, you know, whatever it is that they want to say, or if it's not on the agenda, they could also voice their opinion or concern. I was thinking that we would, 2 minutes, you know, we've been through this a long time, and 2 minutes just seems so short. It seemed like the common theme from folks down there was between 3 and 5, some of them up to 5. I thought 3 was pretty reasonable. But that also would then give us the opportunity that if they had the comment at the beginning of the meeting, when we got to that agenda item, we could either address any questions or concerns they had, and we could also, you know, try to answer, like I said, any questions that came up with their public comments. But it removed us from that situation where we would have the potential to lose control of a meeting or you know, have an inappropriate exchange, you know, with you know, a heat of passion type of exchange. So thoughts, what, you guys, I know and I'm a little on the fence, I mean, there's pros and cons to both ways, but, I guess I would have open for discussion on what you guys think, and.
I think we had a couple of meetings where, with budget cuts, where we specifically allowed public comment, and I'm guessing those types of things
Yep.
will continue. We
Yeah.
also had an hour-long presentation and discussion about Sportsman's Park that was very beneficial to
Yes,
us as well
yes.
as the community.
Yeah.
I think those types of things on special issues
Yep.
needs to continue with public comment. Otherwise, yeah, most of our agenda items, some of us don't have comments on, and then nobody from the public has comments on. So it's probably not a big deal as long as, again, as certain issues come up,
Yep.
that I would like us to see continuing allow public comment and/or conversations on specific agenda items, such as we did with Sportsman's
Yeah, I
Park.
think
'Cause
that
was very beneficial.
very, very
to us
beneficial,
and the
absolutely.
community.
And, you know, I'm certainly not opposed to that style of conversation. That was really, really effective. And I thought that we had a lot of good input on that. The other thing that they talked a lot about was, you know, we have 6 agenda items tonight, and, you know, if there's someone that wanted to make a comment, and we had a lengthy board meeting, but weren't able to stay for, you know, the duration of a meeting, they'd be able to get that comment out at the beginning of the meeting and also leave at that time too, so.
Terry, were the board meetings 5 years ago, were not the board meetings run this way?
Yeah.
Public
I
comment.
think we had changed to a comment at each agenda item. It wasn't that long ago that we did have just public comment at the beginning of the meeting.
And I
It
attended
changed
some
in
of the-
2013-14.
Okay.
And I attended some of those meetings prior to getting on the board when it was like that. And I can remember 2 particular times that 2 individuals, one did not get up to speak at the beginning, did not realize that you didn't get a chance to ask, and waited to the agenda item to hear, because we do not publish all our exhibits, and nor do we talk about our exhibits until we're sitting here at this table. So the public's not always aware of all the information that we're looking at that could raise their questions. So that individual then missed the question. They didn't come back to the next meeting and made basically that comment. How can I ask a question about something that I don't know what the discussion is going to be about until you get to that agenda item and you have discussion? So there's that part of it too, that I understand what you're saying, but I also firsthand saw someone from the public find that didn't work
Mhm.
for that reason.
Yeah, like I said, positives and negatives on both sides there. I see a lot of it both ways here. Josh, what you got any thoughts?
My setting is with Robin, is if we have information that the public hasn't yet really had an opportunity to digest and understand, and we haven't made any action on it, and they want to discuss it before we've even really discussed it. It's a difficult position for them to be in, and then, we've already made a decision, they can come back the next time, but it's really more of us listening information more than an action item from their position.
Yep.
I can see both sides too. I mean, I understand where both of you are coming from with that. But also, as you said, if somebody does need to be somewhere else and they can't stay for, agenda item 15 or 16,
Yeah.
they can get their comments in before they leave, but, yeah.
But Scott's position is correct. I mean, we need to give special opportunity for discussion on items that require more input, right? I mean, I wasn't part of the Sportsman's Park one, but I think I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
And we may have other items like that in the future that require public comment, and we want to hear what they have to say.
Well, we've been referring people back to the
Video.
videotape of that meeting ever since that meeting, because there are still people who don't completely understand why we bought 20 acres for a different sports complex.
Right.
And they need to, we just refer them back to that tape that's out on the internet and say, if you're not sure, you need to watch this. When you're done watching it, then come ask your questions.
I also seem to recall there have been times when the public has made comments once our exhibits are presented, or, for example, tonight, we're gonna work with naming rights and things, that people have seen things and they've made comments, and we've realized, yeah, we either needed to change something or needed to adjust something there based on their comments made at that time, and I also don't wanna miss that opportunity. That's just another set of eyes.
Most exhibits are put at the website ahead of time. There are exhibits, though, that are not, that are delivered on the spot when the agenda item comes up, so I understand the caution.
It's
It
a-
is,
it's a
we're at a
flip-flop.
point right now, where we can go ahead with this and it'll be fine, and I know it'll be all right. But I also remember not too long ago, there was a point and there was a reason that we went to where we did. And I also think it was very effective. I think we've done a really good job of making the public feel like they can come in and make what they want us to hear be known, and they can ask questions and get answers relatively soon without having to wait.
I agree.
Can the listening posts be a way to
Ideally,
help with that? Well, right, ideally, if people come. But I guess we've only had 2,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't know if you guys were
No.
doing those before as well, or if.
I think my biggest message I just want to go with is that we're not changing it because we were doing anything wrong. We're just changing it because the winds have changed for now.
yeah, and I don't look for a decision to have to be tonight by any means either. The other part of it too was the 2 versus 3 minutes thing, and if there was question on that or thoughts on it, we've, you know.
I think that's 3 is courteous too, to
Yeah.
a degree. And Scott can verify that because he's been president for the last few years.
And-
that he's had to cut people off at
I've
2
had to-
minutes.
Yeah.
And just a 2-minute warning with an additional meeting probably would have
Yep.
been a lot more courteous than stopping someone in mid-thought.
Yeah, I agree. It's really difficult to get everything organized, and with an intimidating environment like this, with the microphone in front of a board of people, it's difficult to be proficient at that.
We can
I
ask
can
for
agree with
public
that.
comment for next week, or 2 weeks, and if we don't hear anything, then we'll just move forward.
Just move forward, yeah. So I guess I'd leave it
You're gonna
to,
wait for the editorials to come out?
No, they'll be afterwards.
Oh, okay.
They'll be afterwards.
so I'd leave, I guess, leave it that we'll continue where we're at for the next meeting. We'll readdress this, and if you guys give some time for some thought to it and that. And I'd be fine with that, so.
Yeah, if you want to put it on the agenda item for action next time, that would be good. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're
Fair enough.
thinking January,
Yeah, the January meeting, yep, sorry, yep.
Please.
give people a
Yep.
month to go through.
Think
the
about it
thought
and-
process.
yeah.
Okay.
Moving on to agenda item 10, again, another item that I had found and talked to, that most boards do voice vote instead of roll call vote. I think as a time savings that, you know, we should move to that. Board members still reserve the right to always request a roll call vote or a clarification on who voted how or what. So, but as we go, I'll simply ask for, after motion and second, you know, all in favor say aye, all opposed say no, nay, and move on from there. Most of our agenda items are so routine and mundane that that'll help really, you know, cut a little bit of time off of our meetings, and we all have things going on that every few minutes are important to us each. So,
Well, and we're completely recorded, so if we
Yep.
need to back up and listen.
yep, absolutely. If there
Will we
were-
begin this?
We will
evening?
begin this, let's
Could it just
begin
been
this,
this evening?
let's begin this in the January meeting, yeah, just to have a clean start with a clean meeting, so. We'll start in the January 8th meeting, and tonight we'll just finish with roll call as normal, so.
Do we need to vote on this one?
I don't believe so, no, I don't think it's a change in policy, so.
The roll call vote started when I was on the board, my first 12 years. There was a voice vote that was close to a 3-2, and we weren't sure which way, if the yeses were 3 or the nos were 3, and we weren't sure if one person actually voted or not, or how they voted. And ever since then, we did a roll call vote on that. And Virginia Rosiska was president at the time. And I think the roll call vote has just stayed in effect for the last
Ever since.
15, 16 years. And nobody's ever changed it. But again, huh?
We'll make Terry's job easy.
Make Terry's again, we do record it, you know, but I just wanted to give you the background,
Yeah.
that started years and years ago, and the boards and the presidents ever since then have not changed back to a voice vote, for whatever reason.
Sure.
And I'm not opposed to it, I just wanted you to know why at one time it got to that way, and nobody's changed it.
Excellent. So yeah, we'll begin that in January then, at the first meeting. So. Okay. Moving on, agenda item 11, lobbying at the state capitol.
So for the past 3 years, we've gone to the state capitol and lobbied. Last year, we did it in conjunction with some neighboring school districts. And the question before you tonight is, do you want to do that again in 2018? And if so, then I'll get to work on some dates and bring that back on January 8th. Also coordinate that with area superintendents and their school boards so that we can go and have a presence like we have had.
Would we have students come with us?
Our student director came last year.
Excellent. Okay, great.
With enough advance notice,
Yeah.
we can make that happen.
It's usually a get up early and leave and go down and then come back in the afternoon sometimes.
Right.
Sounds like
Yeah.
great fun.
Yeah, it is a good trip usually. So.
The earlier in January, probably the better for me, and because odds are they may actually follow their 30-day rule this time. Or
Yeah,
not.
we're looking at either the third week in January or the fourth week.
Okay.
Or the last week or the second to last week in January.
Okay.
Okay. This is an action item. Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion to continue our investment in lobbying at the state capitol.
Second? Motion second to continue our lobbying efforts at the Capitol and to secure a date. Roll call vote, please.
Matt,
Yes.
Maycumber.
Yes.
Dyke,
Yes.
Freund. Yes. Walker.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 12 is the IASB convention from 2017.
So we've got two things. We have a plaque and some certificates to hand out tonight, and this is also the opportunity for board members to share their experiences at the convention. So
Well, I had Missy and I had a wonderful opportunity to learn about school finance. It was the most exhilarating meeting I have ever had the opportunity to attend. I got a great packet of stuff and learned an awful lot about how school financing works. Some things I didn't know, some things I did know. It was very, very informative. There was a real good opportunity to connect with other schools and learn about what they're doing and how they've done it. Going to the board member orientation was really interesting to see how some other districts had built a good relationship with the public as well as how they had worked internally with their board. Just really good information, very good fact-finding, learning opportunity. So, really enjoyed it.
I agree. I enjoyed meeting the BLDD architects as well and getting to know them, and I enjoyed the Iowa Big North presentation as well, and Madison Davis, who was a former she's a Charles City graduate, was there, and she's also a babysitter of ours, so that was
Nice.
fun to hear her up there and promoting Charles City, and that was a very well-attended session. There were people standing in the back, so it was good to see.
Robin, anything?
I attended the legislative session, and Jason went with me, so got to see how that process,
Yeah.
how that rolls. A lot of voting and such. And then in the afternoon, I attended Finance 301 for a repeat, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to pass this on to you so that you're ready for next year. This is 301, you can study.
I got all the stuff for actually.
Just joking. And then in the next day, we had the smaller sessions, and I attended everything from the Iowa Big North session to one on employee relationships with the new regulations, changes to the union, how that's a great opportunity for us to build team together and to not make, the message is basically just listen. Just listen, build those relationships, and enjoyed time with BLDD and meeting the other vendors. We did see Taher, so got to talk to Jamie, visited with them. And just seeing other school board members. I think that's my 4th time. You do now get to know people, and you get to chat and go back to discussions on, well, how's your school going? Well, how's your school going? And is our soccer program going yet? No, not yet. No, we're almost there. And so, yeah, it is a great time.
Yeah.
Great learning experience. Thank you.
I agree.
Thank
It's
the
always,
district for letting us go.
yeah, it's always one of those trips that you come back from kind of re-energized. You know, we commit a lot of time throughout the year, and there's times where you're just kind of like, oh boy, I really don't know if it's worth to spend all that time anymore. And then you go to that and you're like, oh boy, I can't wait to get back and get back into things. I always enjoy the general speakers. This year there was another good one, Steve Pemberton. And, you know, for anyone that is not familiar with him or read his book or seen anything about him, you know, he was an orphan kid that no one wanted, bounced around between foster homes and different things. And I talked a lot about his story and you know, how public education and that really was what you know, saved him basically. And now he's the chief diversity officer of Walgreens internationally. So great story. It hit home hard for a lot of after the Success Center presentation tonight, how we have those kids right here in Charles City, and how any one of our staff could be that one that like Steve talked about in his presentation. And I would firmly believe that we have those cases here in Charles City. So those are really, like I said, energizing to see and hear and come back and really focus and keep doing what we do. So, Dan, you have anything to finish up?
I'll say for the 3rd year in a row, Charles City has presented at the Iowa Association of School Boards. That's a testament to the work that we have going on. As Director Freund noted, we'd had a full house for the Iowa Big North presentation. I counted roughly 150 people in attendance, and that'd be school board members and school administrators. We had 2 teachers, 2 board members, 2 graduates representing Osage, New Hampton, Charles City for our program. So very well received session. Also, kind of like Rob and I attended a session on negotiations. This one was on a different approach to a salary schedule, and it was shared by the Linn-Mar superintendent. So,
Excellent.
good convention.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to reach out to Mrs. Yadoff, but I ended up winning a coding. I don't exactly know what it does, but it's called Sphero, I think, and it's for her coding class, which is ironic that I chose her last time to visit her classroom. So I got the email that I had won that, and I immediately said, well, perfect, go to
Excellent.
Naomi would be great. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited to hear how she uses it and how that works.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Excellent. No, great time. So we'll move on to agenda item 13, the athletic complex. Dr. Cox.
I'm not sure who I'm deferring to. The
Athletic complex.
activities
13.
director, perhaps. We've got
Tyler. Got a
recommendation in
group of
front of
folks here.
you with, as part of your exhibits. They've done a lot of work on naming rights.
Yeah, there's several people in our committee here tonight interested in questions or thoughts that you might have that we might all be able to answer. The projected cost came out to 1.1 million. There's some things left out. There's some things we can do different, but an overall general range we got to shoot for is 1.1 to 1.2 million. So we're excited about it. I think it's going to need to be a community effort if we're going to make this thing happen. But if we can make it happen, I think it can be a standout for our school, standout for our community, similar to our gym or our new facilities here. I think it could be something very special.
Everybody had a chance to review the stuff in the,
I would just have one question. On the numbers that you've chosen for the different levels of naming, are those in comparison to other districts our size and facilities?
Maybe Tyler can answer that better than I can. I think it's more based on the projected cost. We did visit other schools that did do naming rights.
Sure.
I can't remember.
It's more for our projected cost. We
Okay.
broke down, this is how much we need, this is what we have available to name, and we kind of put priority-wise, obviously naming the complex or naming the field is worth more than the dugout.
Sure.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's how we broke it down, more by, this is our budget, and this is what we have to, to work with.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional comments or questions? I think there's something that we can really get behind now. There's a solid plan in place. We can get out in the community, start to push this and try to get this going. We've been anxious to get here and get to this point. I think this is a really big step in the process and excited about it. I like the sunset on parts of it because we know X number of years down the road, there's going to be maintenance things that are going to have to be updated and different things like that. So it gives us an option for down the road to pull in some additional revenue too on that. So, and I know that, to recognize all of the people that worked on it, it wasn't, certainly just you two. We had a number of community members that spent, a number of hours behind the scenes pulling this information together, along as well as with the costs and things that you referenced and we've seen. So I want to definitely thank them as well for their time.
With this agenda item tonight, and with our then vote to follow, is this basically the starting gun for this?
Is this our starting point?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
That's our plan, is to put it together. I don't anticipate modifications. We think we have it pretty well laid out. If we have to modify something, I think that would take some discussion by a lot of people.
Some great Christmas present opportunities here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of opportunities, tax breaks and opportunities, maybe?
Absolutely.
I do.
Yeah.
Agree.
So,
I move to approve the naming rights for the sports complex as presented.
I'll second it.
motion is second to approve the naming rights for the sports complex as presented. Any further discussion? Any comments by the public? Roll call vote, please.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Freund?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you guys for all the help.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support on this as well.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Agenda item 14 is the early retirement policy for licensed employees.
So at the last board meeting, you directed administration to come back with perhaps an aggressive option, and we've presented that to you tonight. So the recommendation would be to offer a $35,000 incentive rather than $20,000, which was the amount offered last time, to help us as we enter into a period of some significant budget reductions in the spring.
Dr. Cox, can you just remind the board how many currently licensed professionals in the district are eligible for early retirement? Was it
18, 19?
I was thinking 19.
19.
Okay.
And then if we added in was that number different if we added in support staff? Was that
That's
something
the-
that
That'd be
we
the
talked
next
about?
subsequent
Oh, I'm
agenda.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
perfect, yeah.
Two separate policies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two different offerings, two separate offerings.
Yeah.
It's a nice offer.
Yeah.
I think we say it every year, and we'll continue to say it every year. I spoke to someone today, and I flat out said, it's the goal of this board not to offer this. And it's a goal that we will continue to have set as a goal, and we will achieve that goal at some point. So with that being said, know that this offer is a substantial offer, and one that we did not plan on offering. So take it, run, go,
Yeah.
have fun, go to vacation.
Yeah, I also had some interest today. I know that it's gotten around already, that it's out there. I've heard a little bit of feedback about it being a good offer too. I hope that that's the case. Terry, could you give us an update, kind of like how, just for everyone, that the tax implications, the different things we talked about, where we're at with our management fund and the account information that you showed me last week was
Yeah.
very interesting.
So, $100,000 in cash reserve levy would mean an additional 19 cents per thousand in assessed valuation. So,
Depending on how
you
we-
know, and our rate is like at $14 now. So,
But sitting at home, you shouldn't think that this will then add
No.
19 cents per thousand for each set of $100,000 that it could generate. because that rate fluctuates based
Yeah.
upon
You know, there are.
multiple factors.
Right, so there's cash reserve levy in the management fund, and the surtax can make changes. The deficit, if you levy for the deficit or the dropout program, a lot of things, you know, you can lower in one area and increase in another and, you know, maintain a rate, but that's for an April discussion.
I guess what you showed me last week too was that we had last year put ourselves in a position to be in a good spot to actually have to
Yes.
offer this so that it wouldn't be a big jolt to our levy.
With a balance
Yeah.
carryover in the management fund is what you're referring to?
Right, so I'm thinking, projecting at the end of the year, our management fund will increase by like 250,000 from last year. Because we had increased our levy amount in the current year, 17-18, to 650, just to give ourselves a little bit of cushion. If we did offer a larger program, you wouldn't have to increase for all of what the increased cost would be, because we have a balance in the fund.
Excellent.
So the actual final tax implications of this offer won't be known until we get the applications in,
Right.
we approve them, and we get to a point where you're putting together a budget proposal for the next fiscal year.
Right.
Which will be March, April.
Yeah, you know, probably I'll start looking at it the end of February and bring it to you to look at and provide input, but
And the deadline for applying for this was February 2nd, is that right? Did I see that?
yeah.
So we'll know on February 2nd how many.
February 6th of next year. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Excellent. Any other comments or questions?
Is this about the earliest we've actually done this in recent years?
Actually, this is about normal.
About normal?
Because we try to give them 45, well, we need to give them 45 days to
Other than
consider.
the first year here.
I'm going to say this is early, because we've had some late, okay, let's go ahead and offer it like last year and at least one other year that I recall, so this does feel early.
Well,
If the board
it
approves it
feels
tonight.
early to me,
Yeah,
Hmm.
so.
I'm thinking of maybe long time ago.
yeah.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the first reading of Board Policy 407.6, Employee Early Retirement, and waive the second reading.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the first reading of Board Policy 407.6, Employee Early Retirement, and to waive the second reading. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Roll call vote, please.
Dyke,
Yes.
Freund,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
Maycumber,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 15 is early retirement board resolution for the support staff.
So similar to the licensed staff, we've come back with a more aggressive offer, and this would be to provide up to 60 months of paid insurance for support staff members who take advantage of this offering. And up to 60 months means if you would become Medicare eligible prior to that 5-year period of time, then your benefit stops as soon as you hit that eligibility. And this would be 5 times more generous than the offer was a year ago.
And the number eligible here?
There's,
12-ish?
No, because it's defined to pretty much instructional assistants and confidential secretaries. So the certain other groups weren't included.
But it's still the minimum requirement of 10 years with the district.
Right.
Okay.
And they have to be 55,
Right, or older.
right?
And only the instructional assistants and support staff?
Yeah, so it is not custodial, it is not food service, and that's intentional because we would have to hire somebody back at basically the same rate of pay. I mean, there's a
I
small
see.
difference between it, So then there's no savings generated by the district.
I'm glad I asked that question then, because.
Spend more
yes,
money
okay.
to
I
offer that,
understand.
yeah.
I'm glad I asked that question.
Yeah.
So the public can be aware then too.
Correct.
Because these are for that intent. This is the purpose for these. We're not handing these out to be nice. We're handing these out because we're looking at a large deficit.
Ways to reduce spending.
For the
Correct.
general fund.
Yep.
Yep.
If there's a teacher who's earning 70,000 and we hire somebody back at 35, we're realizing a big savings. But in the support staff area, food service and custodial, there is no saving. Instructional assistants, we've got we have more ability to save there and in confidential and other secretaries as well.
So another eligibility requirement is that they are considered full-time. So current part-time employees, which is defined as working under 30 hours, are not included in it either. So it's just for full-time staff in those groups.
Excellent.
I'll make a motion to approve early retirement board resolution for non-certified employees meeting the eligibility requirements as stated in the resolution following the 2017-18 school year.
I will second.
Motion is second to approve the early retirement board resolution for non-certified employees meeting the eligibility requirements as stated in the resolution following the 2017-18 school year. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Roll call vote, please.
Freund,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
Maycumber,
Yes.
Dyke,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 16 is the SBRC application for modified supplemental amount for dropout prevention programs.
So the programs being funded are pretty much the same. So it's the Carrie Lane Juvenile Court Liaison, teacher and counselor special programs, middle school, high school, summer school, mental health service, elementary PBIS intervention, before and after school services, school within a school, and the new at-risk coordinator. The modified supplemental amount is 75% of the projected budget because the district has to contribute 25% of the cost of all of those programs.
And this just basically allows us to levy for the deficit that we have. Is that correct?
Right. So we don't, it allows us to, but it doesn't,
Mean that
until
we-
we do the budget, we're not,
Doesn't mean we will at this level
right.
until we get.
But
But if-
this gives us really the spending authority so that you can add it to your, to your spending authority. No cash behind it until you do your certified budget and do a cash reserve if you wish.
But if you don't ask, you can't do it.
Right.
Is there a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the request for modified supplemental amount for dropout prevention in the amount of $434,055 as recommended.
I'll second it.
Motion and second to approve the resolution authorizing the request for modified supplemental amount for dropout prevention in the amount of $434,055. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Roll call vote, please.
Mack,
Yes.
Maycumber.
Yes.
Dyke,
Yes.
Freund,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 17 is the Washington Section D roof specifications. So I believe this was on the projects that Jerry had put in for approval. And this simply is to be able to put that out for bid then.
Right.
Right.
These, just the specifications that'll be sent out. There was some help from Gary Anderson to draw up the specifications. But, yeah.
Excellent. Any
And this work is to be completed in the summer of 18.
Right.
I
But to
just-
get them, people locked in, the bids in, yeah.
One question I have, Terry, and on the bid specification, it says that the work will be completed between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., including evenings and weekends. Does that mean that they can work anytime, or does somebody from the school need to be there supervising?
You know, I don't know the answer to
Okay.
that.
I don't believe we
Yeah.
typically have anyone there that supervises the work. They're just,
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious if
Since it's all
they
out
just do their thing.
exterior work.
Well, and I also feel it's because it's neighborhood schools, we're putting a time limit as opposed to when the noise, we're
Yeah.
doing, some of that is concerned as far as traffic and noise in the neighborhood. I'm working on a roof. I want it quiet after 7:30.
any more comments, questions? Is there a motion?
Move to approve the Washington Elementary Section D roofing project specifications as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the Washington Elementary Section D re-roofing projects specifications. Any further discussion? Public comments? Roll call vote, please.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Freund?
Yes.
Mac?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Section 18 is also roof specifications for high school sections Q and R. Same thing, and I believe these are, Missy had asked earlier, sections in the high school over portions of the high school that we have typically identified as being areas that will be renovated in Phase 2 and not demolished by any means. So
Is this cafeteria or
Right.
shop area, or just in that area?
in that area.
The south wing.
The south,
South
yeah,
wing.
yep. So it's a continuation of some roof work we did last summer, I believe, so. So again, just clarifying there that it's not in areas that we plan to demolish. We're not re-roofing the circles or anything here, so.
We're not roofing what we're gonna take, we're gonna propose to possibly take apart in the next few years.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the high school section QR roof, re-roofing project specifications as presented.
I'll second.
Second.
The motion is second to approve the high school section QR re-roofing project specifications. Any further discussion? Public comment? Roll call vote, please.
Dyke?
Yes.
Freund?
Yes.
Mac?
Yes.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 19 is high school section K roof specifications. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the high school section K re-roof project specifications as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion is second to approve high school section K re-roof project specifications. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Roll call vote, please.
Freund?
Yes.
Mac?
Yes.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 20 is the Lincoln roof wall flashing specifications. Another project that Jerry had identified as a priority.
Move to approve the Lincoln Elementary School roof wall flashing specifications as presented.
I'll second.
A motion is second to approve the Lincoln Elementary School roof wall flashing specifications. Any further discussion? Public comment? Roll call vote, please.
Mac?
Yes.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Freund?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 21 is the use of school facilities. Dr. Cox.
This is just an update. We had talked last time about the Floyd County Medical Center utilizing some of our buildings if a disaster were to take place. They had suggested at that point that they were going to have a business associate agreement that they wanted us to complete. They rescinded that request.
Okay.
So, our insurance agent, though, has asked that we approve this language in the motion for Floyd County Medical Center and anybody else who might want to use our facilities in the event that there is a disaster.
Excellent. Is there a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the use of district facilities by outside organizations in the event of a disaster as recommended.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the use of district facilities by outside organizations in the event of a disaster. Any further discussion?
We have used our facilities in the past, so we're doing this now because,
It has come up,
okay,
and the insurance agent has said, you should have this approved.
okay.
The phrasing approved. So,
Excellent. Any public comment? Roll call vote, please.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Freund?
Yes.
Mac?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 22 is the financial report for November of 2017.
Just a couple of things. Cash fund, or the general fund, general fund balance, the cash was down 19%. Part of that is due to just a timing issue because the state is, instead of giving us all the TLC money at the beginning of the year, it's now spread out and paid monthly. The other 10% is an anticipated lower balance at year end. We've briefly touched on it at a last meeting. You know, there will be maybe some reductions at the end of the year. Yeah, so part of that will be permanent until we can make those changes and level it out for next year. Otherwise, the health fund balance is still up 27%.
Wow. That's great.
Yes. it is.
Even with the decrease of premiums of 11%.
Right. We should be getting our preliminary Wellmark rates within the next week. So we'll see.
Excellent.
Be interesting to see what they suggest.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent. Any further comments? Is there a motion?
Move to accept the November 17 financial reports as presented.
I'll second.
Motion to accept the November 2017 financial reports. Any further discussion? Public comments? Roll call vote, please.
Dyke?
Yes.
Freund?
Yes.
Mac?
Yes.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 23, consideration of the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I will move to approve the consent agenda items as listed below.
I'll second it.
A motion and second to approve the consent agenda items as listed. Any roll call vote, please?
Freund?
Yes.
Mac?
Yes.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 24, correspondence and miscellaneous. Again, for the newer board members, the last item typically in the first meeting of the month is our enrollment summary, kind of a snapshot in time, month to month of where we're at. Kind of always an interesting piece of information to see every month, I think, so.
It definitely shows we are a mobile society,
Yeah.
that people move all the time.
Up and down, yeah.
Yep.
Excellent. Agenda item 25 is important upcoming dates.
Again, December 19th, special board meeting, 5 o'clock. We've got the 4:30 session with the legislators. It will either be right here or it'll be in the high school library. So that will be made clear before we send out when we send out the agenda. December 22nd is a snow makeup day. Weather looks good between now and then. So
Don't
we'll
say
see. Winter break will be the 22nd or 23rd through January 2nd. January 2nd is a professional learning day for staff. Classes resume the 3rd, and then January 8th, we're back here for our next regular board meeting.
Excellent. Agenda item 26 is adjournment at 7:15.